We are recording and we are streaming. You're ready for a countdown? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's Norm Ardez.
Hey, we are back after a long, lengthy, vacation. There's a story to it. So my dad passed away back in March, and so we took some time off. It's been an interesting journey the last couple of months, to say the least, for me. Baseball, in a big way, was a big part of the healing process. And my first guest back is Rodney Tafoya, who, on his page, www.agelessarm.com, it says, "My passion lives in the core." Now, I don't play, but the passion lives in the core with me as well, on a whole different level. And so my first guest today is Rod Tafoya. Rod, how are you doing today?
Great, Norm. Thank you for having me as a guest. Appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. So I met Rod on Facebook, and he's an interesting guy. So you're close to 50, correct?
I'm 51.
51. And you are the 300-game winner that nobody has ever heard about.
Correct.
And you play at a pretty high level of baseball. Now, you don't play major leagues. You did play in the minors, but you play at a fairly high level of baseball.
Correct. I'm in my fourth decade as a minor league pitcher, more of a journeyman pitcher, left-hander. I've played in 3 countries, and I've been fortunate enough to play in the Pecos League, independent league of minor league baseball, for those right out of college up to 25. And I've played in that league for 4 years now. I'm playing with the Las Vegas Train Robbers, and I'm pretty excited about it because I can't get any type of baseball of that nature anywhere else. So that's going to make me a better pitcher. That's why I do it.
So you're playing with guys that are more than half your age. So
correct.
Do they joke around with you? Are you like grandpa in the clubhouse?
Absolutely, I'm grandpa. I pitched last Saturday in Las Cruces against the Vaqueros, and my manager put me in relief in the 5th inning. And interesting enough, I had to call the coach of the Vaqueros for something interesting. They were interested, the Pirates were interested in signing this big hitter that they have that plays third base. He's 6'5", 240, and he wanted a report on this guy. And I said, well, actually, I faced him last Saturday, and I faced the guy you're interested in. And I told him all about it, and the manager was telling me from his corner in the dugout that all these guys were kind of razzing me and saying a few things. And he said, you know what, I don't want to hear a peep out of you guys because this guy has been around and you owe him the respect that, for the work he's done over the last 4 decades, and he might strike one of you guys out and, make you look bad. So let him be and let him do his thing. So in your 40 years playing, is there a game that stands out the most to you? There's a few games. There was one day that stands out that I can mention, and that was when I was 47. I went down to Puerto Rico. I was asked to pitch with a team from Chicago, and I was on a road trip for work in Las Vegas, Nevada for an expo, and they needed me in Puerto Rico. I couldn't really go for the full time, so I flew out of Vegas on a Friday and got into Puerto Rico at 6:30 in the morning, flew all night, and the tournament ended the next day on Sunday. But I was scheduled to pitch Sunday, and I told my manager, the team that just beat us, I could probably beat them with my C stuff, just on control. So he put that in the back of his head. I pitched my game, and then we had to face that team that beat us, and I beat them. But lo and behold, I pitched 2 back-to-back games with 222 pitches in a day for 2 wins and an MVP, which propelled us to the championship, and we beat Daytona Beach, Florida for a ring. So that one stands out just because I'll never do that again because it hurts, you know?
Yeah, I bet. So now I was looking on your website, www.agelessarm.com once again, and now you have a ball for every win. You collect a ball from every win you have?
You know what? Interesting enough, I've collected every ball since my high school sophomore year. So basically my first win in high school till my last win this past Sunday, I have nearly 500 balls.
Wow, that's a pretty impressive collection.
Well, when I went for 300, you know, back in the early 2000s, I was at a little over 100, and I thought I could stay in this game for, you know, another decade, just keeping count and trying to get to this number. You know, I tried to get 200, and once I hit 200, I thought, well, that 100 took about 5 to 7 years, so I can keep going and see if I could get 300 and feel what it's like. And once I did that, you know, it's kind of caught fire a little bit, but I'm going to try and go for another 100 and see what Cy Young felt like when he won 500 in the 11th games.
Wow. So where does the passion come from?
Well, I think it comes from a gift from above, for one. And I think I got my mom's passion. My mom was a very passionate woman. You know, she had a lot of hopes and dreams in her life, and she conquered all those dreams, and I think that was kind of given to me. So when I got into baseball, I just really fell in love with the game and everything that goes with it, the travel, the players, the game itself, and getting an education through baseball and getting a nice career through baseball, getting so many stories to write a book about baseball. And I think it's all been interconnected throughout my life, and I've just been really blessed.
Yeah.
So once I kind of figured out I was going to write a book, especially my second one, I kind of cut the ball in half and found that little core in the middle, and we all know what the core is, but I think my core went a little deeper, and I took that core out and replaced it with a heart, and that was kind of the story for my mom. So she'll always have a piece of that baseball with me wherever I pitch, wherever I go.
Right. And so now you've written 2 books. So you've got Ageless Arm, and then what's the other one?
The new one is going to be due out in spring 2016, and that's going to be called Inside the Core, The Passion Lives On. So I lost my mother on my way to reaching 300 games, and you know, my mom never really got to read the manuscript of the book, but my mom was the book. So, you know, she kind of mentioned, I've heard all these stories, you know, and she was the story. So it kind of will always tie my life into my mother and baseball, and, you know, I'll never forget. And I just wanted to share my story with those out there that have mothers that, you know, they love and miss and so forth.
You know, I think that goes for parents in general. You know, like I said, I just lost my dad back in March, and
yeah, my condolences to you.
Well, thank you.
I know how that feels.
And you know, so I went to work in baseball, I don't know, 20 years ago. I started working with the McMinnville Parks and Recreation. I helped run their baseball program, but I went into work with minor league baseball in with the Diamondbacks, and I worked out of Lancaster, California as a clubhouse manager. And so I've been doing that off and on for like the last 10 years, and my dad was always against it because he was like military, 9 to 5, you know, you got to support the family. But on his deathbed, he had told me on how proud he was of me, that he wished that I would have found this calling when I was like 18 or 19, because I would have been, you know, 30 years into, you know, a baseball career, you know, working, you know, behind the scenes. And, you know, it's very passionate. I love it. You know, it's about being a part of a team. You know, there's just something about your office being a stadium, you know, where games are played. Being in the clubhouse, it's like no other.
Yeah, I've just lived that story, and it resonates through my body, and it's something that I just love. Like tonight, I have a game up in Santa Fe where I live, and my team is playing in my hometown, and I can't wait to hurry up home and get the suit and tie off and put in the baseball uniform, because that's where I feel most comfortable with my teammates.
So what was the best piece of advice that you had ever received?
Well, that's a pretty easy one. I'd have to say my father. My father was in the military, fought in Normandy, and my dad was an iron fist. He was pretty tough. And one thing that my father, that I really look up to him for, was his liking for education. My father wasn't fortunate enough as a young man to have a big education. He grew up poor, and he had some great opportunities in his life to have a family of 5, a great wife, a nice home, and a career up at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, which he worked for 33 years. But my dad, we had some quiet talks in the car, and sometimes they weren't so warm and gentle, but looking back now, I understand exactly what it was that he meant, and it was education, and get your education, because baseball is short-lived, and your arm might blow out, and then what are you going to do? And I don't want any son of mine going out in the real world with no education, and it's going to make a difference in the job and career that you have for your life, and it's going to dictate your life. So my dad was a very wise and humble man, but he knew what was best for me and for my family.
So I'm kind of interested. So who's the toughest batter you've ever faced?
The type of batter?
The toughest hitter you've ever had to face.
Oh, well, that's pretty easy. I faced Mike Piazza a few times, and I did fairly well against Mike Piazza, but for those that don't know who Mike Piazza is, he was, I believe, a 62nd round draft pick out of the Dodgers organization, and he came out of Miami, Florida, the Hurricanes, and they sent him to the Northwest League for the Salem Dodgers. And I played with the Boise Hawks, so we faced the Salem Dodgers quite often that summer.
So we're in Northwest League territory here. So now it's the Salem Kaiser Volcanoes now, and so so we know about Piazza and the Boise Hawks.
Okay, so we played up at Chemeketa Field. That was their home, and he was tearing up the Northwest League as a catcher, but we didn't know who he was. I mean, he came from University of Miami Hurricanes, a big heralded college for baseball, but we just everybody had a scouting report on this guy, and we had a certain way to pitch him, and that was one of the better guys. We had a few others. We had Tim Salmon from the Angels. He had just come out of Grand Canyon, and I know that I beat Bend. He played for the Bend Bucks, Bend, Oregon, and I beat them 5-3 and through 5 innings, and I pitched against him, but that was a nice win for me. So those two pretty much stand out, but those were two of the biggest names from the Northwest League in '89 that made the big leagues.
So who was Kochman your manager?
Kochman was the manager of the Boise Hawks in 1990. My manager in '89 was Mal Fitchman, who is now a scout for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Right. Yeah, I knew Kochman was there sometime in that era.
Correct.
Wow. So www.agelessarm.com, Rodney Tafoya, check it out. He's got a couple of books. He's got a book out, and he's got one coming out in the spring. Now we're going to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to ask you a little bit about music. And so I love music. Music and baseball for me goes hand in hand. And what are your top 5 songs?
Oh, I'm not real good at songs, but I can tell you my favorite groups.
Okay,
that
works.
Yeah, I have a wide array of music tastes, eclectic tastes. I know that when I wrote my book, I liked new age music. I really like Will Ackerman. He was the founder and CEO of Windham Hill, and they put out several albums every year from the 80s to current, and he gets the top musicians and puts them on an album. And then I like Acoustic Alchemy. So those were like music without words, and I could put my beats on and type away. So those were great kind of new age musicians that I enjoy. As far as regular music, I love 80s. I love OMD, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark.
Yeah.
I like U2, Pet Shop Boys, New Order, Naked Eyes, Tears for Fears. And then some of the current stuff, they call it alternative nation. I like Washed Out, Joy Wave, Ex-Cops, Black Keys, and Cage the Elephant. I like that.
Nice. You're all over the place. I like that. And so, yeah,
I'm all over the place. It just depends on your mood, right?
And that's the way I am. I had somebody ask me the other day, and I like all kinds of stuff. I've got a little bit of country. I'm listening to Reckless Kelly and Mickey and the Motorcars right now, and they're huge baseball fans. They put on a pretty good show. And then Buzz Osborne with the Melvins, an old grunge band, and Buzz, I've interviewed him a couple times. He's a huge baseball fan as well, but like one of my favorite songs of all time, and I honestly can't tell you why, that I just like the song, and that's Barbie Girl by Aqua. And I swear up and down, if I ever had a walk-up song, that probably would be it. If I was playing baseball and my walk-up song, it'd probably be Barbie Girl.
Nice.
And just get in everybody's head.
Nice.
And so,
Norm, what I've been getting into is a little bit of Led Zeppelin. I know it's a little bit hard, but some of those lyrics, and one of the greatest drummers of all time and one of the greatest guitarists of all time in one band, and it's just like that music is just unbelievable when I listen to it now at an older age. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. Well, Rod, we would like to have you on again sometime and talk some more.
Anytime.
That's good. And so Rodney Tafoya, www.agelessarm.com. Check it out. Check out his book. I'm definitely interested, and I'm sure we'll chat about that a little bit more here at another day. So once again, thank you for coming on, and have a good day.
Thank you for having me, Norm.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Sweet. We'd like to thank Baseballisms, baseballisms.com, basebypros.com. I got Brian off his mark here, and so MDM Design, who does our shirts. Wow. Baseballdudes.com, yamhilltoday.com. We stream live on yamhilltoday.com. It's been a while, guys, so trying to get back into the deal. Hey, your ad here, normbro18@gmail.com. Contact me. Let's talk about it. And then you could follow us on YouTube, Clubhouse Chatter, Facebook, Clubhouse Chatter with Norm. Thanks for coming up. And next guest will be Bobby Winkles. You're not going to want to miss this one. So we'll be back at 1. Thanks for listening.